dun, 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 dun. That music does it every single time. Anyway, we want to welcome you. We are two cantors that have walked into a bar, although for about the last, 39 years or so, it feels like we haven't actually been able to walk into a bar. We wish we could, but we are joining you virtually. We have our drinks. I am Cantor Matt Axelrod from Scotch Plains, New Jersey, and I am here with the scintillating...
Oh, I love the adjectives. I don't even know if that's with an S or with a C.
It's with both an S and a C.
I want you to know that I am the C. I am Cantor Penny Myers of Temple Beth Zion in Buffalo, New York, and I've got my.
You have an old fashioned.
I do. Well, I've
just got the hard stuff.
Oh well, what are you drinking?
L'chaim.
L'chaim. Oh yeah. L'chaim tovim. L'chaim tov misham l'kol Yisrael u'mayin. Wow.
What number old fashioned is that for you today, Penny?
You know,
yeah.
I lost count.
So here we are, week who knows what of quarantine.
I don't even know who I am anymore.
Isolation / social distancing. How you holding up over there in Buffalo?
How am I holding up in Buffalo?
Yeah. Going.
Are you going to rip on my fair city?
It might happen. Rarely, yes.
Yeah, I've never heard you ever say some weird things about Buffalo. I gotta say.
I mean, the only thing, you're actually stuck in Buffalo. You can't go anywhere. You're there. Anyway.
You know what, Matt?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I gotta say, Buffalo is Canada's Florida.
I have no idea what that means. But wherever we're broadcasting from, Buffalo, New Jersey, anywhere else, you have picked an awesome time to join us on our podcast today. A little later, we are going to have a special guest, a wonderful surprise for you.
God willing.
He'll be joining us a little bit later. In the meantime, I thought, Penny, you and I would start talking a little bit about, we continue our discussion about what it's like having to, in a very surreal way, having to lead prayers and lead, all those services virtually online. And in many cases, just like we're doing right now, we are broadcasting really to ourselves. We are seeing ourselves. And it's kind of hard to sort of get into the right frame of mind, to get into the character that we need. Do you ever feel when you're like leading services, whether virtually or actually in real life, that you sometimes have to put on a certain role or put on a persona? Like maybe you're not in the mood for it, but you have to just, put on the cantor clothes and go out and do business?
Every day of my life.
So in other words, it was a relevant question.
Totally relevant.
Really? Is it like, is it that much of a marked thing that you really just like, okay, flick the switch and go out there?
Well, it's kind of a gradual thing at times. I don't know. I mean, I feel that like, all pandemic issues aside, there is that transition time that I like where I feel like I'm Superwoman. Yeah. Where I go from a mild-mannered mom of 3 teenagers to super cantor. Whenever I put on a kippah, it's that tangible physical reminder that I have to behave in a way of emulation, that I'm an emissary. I know we spoke many episodes ago about feeling like an imposter.
Yeah, imposter syndrome. That might have been, I don't remember. Was that like our first episode together?
Maybe second.
Wow. Okay.
How long we've been, it feels, I mean,
we've been doing this. Yeah.
Suffering from stage fright as I do, and I have been known to speak about it. Suffering from stage fright. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to daven in front of another human being again. Like,
you mean because you've gotten so used to doing it this way, it's going to like rock your whole world to have an actual presence of people in the building with you. One of the things that I've noticed is that, when we used to have normal services, so we'd all be there in the sanctuary.
Wait, define normal.
Can't do it.
I can't either.
You ever see me? I can't do normal services. When we would have services that we could actually be in the same building and like be in the same spot. You know, so people would be gathering around and talking, and then, okay, it's time to start, and someone would start, and that would be it. But now everything, it's like this, and it's like you are the star of a production. And so
Different kind of production. We spoke about this with B'nai Mitzvah, that it was putting on the same play or putting on the same musical, but with different cast members each week.
Right. So, you know, we're ready to start, and it's not like, okay, well, let's get started. Let's do this page. Whatever. It's, you know, 3, 2, 1, cameras on. And it's very intimidating. You know, when we do a Facebook live stream service, that video gets recorded, and now we have an entire archive of every service we've done for the last, well, like 39 years, for the last whatever.
It feels that way.
It's very strange. And, you know, again, when we were standing there and everyone was around us and we were just sort of doing our thing, we didn't worry so much, and we were just chatting and doing. Now it's like, all right, you know, quiet on the set.
Pressure.
You know, right. I mean, we're going live in 10 seconds. Everyone be quiet. Everyone stand in position. And then the camera comes on, and, you know, God forbid you get caught with a hot mic. Every time that we're doing a service or a production, it's like live TV. Something is going to go wrong.
Always.
And because we and everyone we know are so accustomed to watching everything now on TV, and it's, you know, very smoothly produced. And so there's a certain expectation that when we're watching it like this, it's going to be a certain way. It's going to have a certain perfection to it. And any little mistake we make, you know, is going to be magnified. I think we're being joined. All right. So our special guest star is on his way. I
can't believe it.
I'm waiting for him to connect.
There.
Oh,
right on.
We make.
There you are. Green screen.
Hey!
Yay. Okay. We want to welcome you, Jim. It is just an honor and a pleasure to have you with us. Let me introduce you to all of us.
Quick, can you sign my?
Yeah,
can you sign my computer, please? So, Jim, I'm Matt Axelrod. We've been in touch. Over there in the box is Cantor Penny Myers. And for everyone, I want to introduce Jim Meskimen. He is an incredibly talented actor, performer, voiceover artist, improv guy, and most notably, one of the best impressionists that you will ever have the privilege to hear. No, Jim, I remember you well. You've been in a whole bunch of movies. I do remember you well from Apollo 13.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Been in Frost Nixon, There Will Be Blood, a whole bunch of other movies. You've been on TV. You've been in Friends, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Penny swooning. And you know, you've appeared on Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yes, the British one. Yeah.
So
the British one.
The British one. Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
Actually, British. Yeah.
And perhaps your biggest claim to fame, especially for those of us of a certain generation, is for those of us who grew up with Happy Days, is your mother is none other than Marion Ross, who played beloved Mrs. Cunningham on Happy Days. So,
exactly, who I just saw. Why I'm late is I had to bring her healthy green drink that I bring every morning. She's 91,
wow.
doing just fine. I couldn't find her. And she's got a pretty big house. And there was a housekeeper doing something and another repairman. And I was like, where's Marion? And the repairman said, up there by the tennis court, I think. And I wandered up there, and she's up there sweeping up the tennis court.
Wow.
Of course she is.
So she's never
she's
stopped.
Mrs. Cunningham.
She's never stopped being Mrs. C. That's it. She's just
well. She's it's funny because she's a totally different individual than Mrs. C. Mrs. C was this wonderful character, but my mom was an even more wonderful mom. And
you didn't
very different.
You didn't know where you were taking that sentence.
Yeah.
I did not know where you were going with that. Tell us what kind of mom is she?
Well, she was what I always think of is, because as you gave me that lovely introduction, thank you, Matt. That was really, really kind. I've been able to there should be another word than indulge, but I can't think of it right now. I indulge myself in a lot of art forms. I've been able to make a living as an illustrator, a cartoonist, a voiceover artist, an actor, an impressionist, all these different creative things. And I don't think I would have, well, I'm fairly certain I wouldn't have had the freedom to pursue any of those things if I hadn't had a very encouraging mother who appreciated my creations, as lumpy or ham-handed as they were, or amateurish, and she always was just really supportive of my creativity, and my sisters too. My sister's also a writer. And
yeah, I was going to ask if you have siblings and if any of them have gone into the family business, if they've become.
Yeah, we're all in the family business. We're all in the entertainment. We're all quarantined. We're all not in the business now, together. But my sister is a very gifted writer, producer. Produced one of the producers of Friends, and has a wonderful family, and they're Jewish, as it turns out.
Oh.
So she married a Jewish man and converted, and so we have a multi-faith family.
Does she know? Wait, I gotta ask.
I know what you're going to ask. Go ahead.
So does she know that you are our guest with this podcast?
Like, does she know that you're joining two cantors? That
I don't think so, but I will definitely mention it.
Yeah. Jim, have you ever spent any time with a cantor or a couple cantors, or are we your first?
I think you're my first cantors. I've been to many Passovers and Seders, and
that's a 4-drink minimum.
and Hanukkah, and I grew up with Jewish kids here in the Valley. San Fernando Valley was predominantly Jewish when I grew up, and now it's predominantly everything.
So Jim, I want to ask, how did you get your start doing impressions, and like at what point did you realize you had the knack for this? Were you doing this as a kid? Were you imitating your teachers and getting in trouble and out of trouble?
I was a quiet impressionist. I was a stealthy impressionist. So I would do it for my friends, but never for the target, which is, I think, that's a policy I maintain today, if I can at all.
I was going to ask you about that later. We'll come around to that. I was going to ask you about that later. Go ahead.
There's just no profit in doing a bad impression of somebody to them. It's the worst. And even your impression won't sound good to them because they hear themselves differently. So you can't win. It's a no-win situation. Right. But I was young, but I was very kind of tender about it, because I didn't. The voice, and you as cantors have probably gone through this, but the human voice is a very easy thing to invalidate, both for oneself and other people can do it, right? And like part of your job is singing, big part. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what it means, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. So most Americans are really not comfortable with their singing voice, and it's not because their singing voice is bad. It has nothing to do with the quality, and often people say, "Well, I'm tone deaf," and that's not true.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. That's a very specific thing.
Right.
But they have been very evaluated by family or friends at an early age, and then they went, "I'm out."
It's like math is hard.
Exactly.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Or I'm not computer savvy. Okay, then you never learn. It doesn't mean that there's a gene that you have that means you can't understand Microsoft or Macintosh. It means that you stopped applying yourself and stopped focusing on that thing because you thought you'd do something bad or wrong or reprehensible or foolish.
So one of the amazing things about the impressions that you do, Jim, is that you don't just do the impression. It's like you take the person and you put them on yourself. And you
that's the art of it. That's the art. I mean, you can't just, it would be very hard just to do the voice of Ian McKellen, for example, and not start to suddenly take a viewpoint of someone who's much older and much wiser and even more forceful.
You sound like one of our colleagues. I'm not going to mention his name.
Yeah, and then of course one of your best impressions that you do that you assume the whole body is of course Robert De Niro.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Matt, for mentioning that. But I mean, I discovered long ago that if you turn your mouth upside down, it helps. Just how it helps to to do it and become very ambivalent, and it helps.
Wow. Ambivalent.
No, Jim, I have to know, like, do you ever, it's an incredible gift you have to do these impressions. And I'm wondering, do you ever use it, for evil, not for good? Like, do you ever get in a big fight at home and you just getting ready to storm out of the room and then you stop and you turn around and go, "I'll be back," or something like that? I mean,
well, I have the freedom.
Any situation.
Yeah. It's never for evil though, Cantor. Never for evil. I'm actually very strict about that. If it's a show, like, because these days, when we were growing up, animated shows were all pretty innocuous. They were about furry animals that were driving each other crazy. Today, there's a lot of politics. There's a lot of weird social satire going on, and some of this animated programming, it's like ghastly. There's something.
Yeah.
It's true. For those of us who grew up with Looney Tunes and Bugs Bunny on Saturday morning, we can't watch anything else. I mean,
that we watched on Shabbat morning.
Well, on Saturday, right? Some of us did.
So I am very choosy about things. If it's just too offensive, I just go, "No, it's not for me."
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, being able to do voices is not. Now, of course, my family though has endured it for so long that it's not exactly coin of the realm. They're more interested in the truth, or
they're a little jaded. They're like, "Dad."
Yeah. All right, you do your bit.
Your impressions are now in the category of a dad joke at this point.
100%.
Do you have kids?
I do. I have a beautiful daughter.
Okay. How old is she? Do you want me asking?
She will be 30 in August.
Okay.
And
did she ever make you do impressions for her friends?
Once, and then all her friends left and they never came back.
Not so much. I do her outgoing phone message on her phone for her, celebrity voices.
You're like the guy on NPR.
Wait,
don't tell me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, Carl Castle.
Carl Castle.
The great Carl Castle, yes. I remember hearing Carl Castle. It's been a long time since.
Is he on your list?
He's not, because it's a little too niche-y. Also, I think he's not on the air anymore. So, but I remember very well.
I tell you who I do from NPR. I still remember it so well. Is Robert Siegel of
yes,
All Things Considered, and he had this wonderful sort of what I describe as a kind of avuncular voice, sort of whimsical and yet at the same time very, very legitimate.
Whimsical.
Very legitimate.
Jim, one of the things Penny and I were talking about before you came on was that as cantors, we have to sort of adopt a persona when we are ready to start. And I think one of the things that's most attractive and one of the things that resonate the most about doing impressions and why people love it is I think there's this deep-seated fantasy or wish that even for just a minute, we can be somebody else. Oh. And that we can, and it's just someone who can, and someone like yourself that has that talent, we're fascinated with it because like this, you could be George Clooney.
Oh my God.
That's right. I'm glad you brought it up. It's a little early in the morning to do George Clooney.
Sorry.
We're on Eastern time, so it's perfect for us. Okay. And what's funny is, and what I was going to mention before is that nobody does a George Clooney impersonation. You have, yeah.
Yeah,
so
I think I was the first. Well, the second. I was the second. There's another guy named Clooney that does
it. You do George Clooney better than George Clooney does.
Well, that's a very important point, though. You get to be somebody else, and that's what actors do too.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in different professions find that there is a certain persona that they develop for their professional world that is different from who they consider themselves to be or who they are at home.
It's like he knows us, Penny.
He totally knows us.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sure. Well, I totally understand. I mean, I've thought about it a lot because as I developed my impression career, I was like, because for me, it's kind of like, can anybody do this? This is a very human thing. You change your voice, you change your viewpoint, big deal. But obviously, the bulk of humanity doesn't have share that viewpoint. So I was like, what is it that makes it so interesting to people? And I latched on that. I think it's that when you see someone change and be someone else, it's sort of a magic trick.
Yes.
It's a very human skill. It's actually very good for you. because like if you're in an argument with somebody, say, and you can't take on their point of view, or they can't take on your point of view, you're not going to really come together and have some sort of agreement in the end, you know?
That's it.
So did your daughter, did she pick up on your talent?
Somewhat. She's not an impressionist, but she really knows how to make me laugh. So
Oh.
she can dish it back to me, and it's awfully delightful. But she is a narrator. I'm a narrator of audiobooks. I do a lot of vocal work and voiceover, and she also has followed in that path. So she's done tons of books and commercials and stuff. And
Fantastic.
and she does accents and things, which I'm very interested in. We all got this from my mom.
She got
My
the ear
mom
for
was-
it. She got the ear
She's
for
got the
it.
ear, yeah, and
Yeah.
she's musical. I think if you're musical too, which
Yes.
you guys obviously are, you have a more of an appreciation for it. You can discern these different wavelengths and
Yeah.
different vibrations and things and appreciate them.
Absolutely. So Jim, I want to go over, temple, synagogue life and church life. And,
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that are in common. So I thought I'd throw out a couple scenarios for you and see how you would, how you might deal with it as certain characters. So one of the things is, if you are teaching a middle school kid, bar mitzvah lessons,
Mhm.
and they're just doing a really lousy job, but you don't want to say anything. But now you're Simon Cowell. How might you deal with that kid?
It's absolutely wrong personality to teach children, first of all. But I'd say, look, Nathan,
That's a good name.
when you're speaking to the crowd, all right, Baruch atah Adonai and all that, whatever it is, you need to lift your head, lad. You need to lift your head up. Your head is down. You're looking at your shoes. Yeah, and your shoes are very handsome, but it should not be the focus of attention. You should look up, chin up.
It's like he's been doing our job the whole
I know.
time.
Without, that's basically right.
Is that a common thing?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah. I really appreciate the Baruch atah. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you did it. You got
That was
creds.
good. You got to get a little more guttural.
Well, Simon Cowell wouldn't have done it that way. So.
Jim, would you like to be a regular on our podcast?
Right. Makes our jobs way fun.
Another staple of synagogue life is that people have to pay dues usually to belong to a synagogue. That's the
Not
usual model.
tithes.
And and sometimes they get in arrears or they do what. I'm sorry.
Yearly dues.
Yearly annual dues. Yep.
Annual. Okay.
And so some people, are getting arrears or they're not able to pay their due or something. But I'm wondering if, when the temple president has to contact these people and get them to pay, what if the temple president was Joe Pesci? Would that convince them a little bit more? What do you think?
That's a little on the nose, but yeah, I mean, sure. So, look, we do it every year. Everybody does it. We all chip in. Okay? You think this temple holds up by itself? We got plumbing, heating, air conditioning, everything. Okay? We got coffee. So, come on. What's the matter with you? Go do something. Go borrow some money, huh? Knock over a liquor store. I don't care.
Oh, that's so fun. I need to borrow you.
Yeah, I know, totally. And and then some of our most familiar episodes that we read, in the Bible and in our cherished stories. So you're familiar, of course, with the story of Moses standing in front of the burning bush, and then he gets the message from the burning bush to go, appear before Pharaoh, free the Israelites. But what if the burning bush were actually George W. Bush?
Mm-hmm. What if the bush itself was George W. Bush? And he's talking to Moses?
Yeah.
Hey there, Moses. Look, this might be kind of off-putting, but I'm speaking to you from this burning piece of vegetation. I got advice for you. I got things for you to do. I got a whole little checklist. Probably never. I bet you never received any kind of message from a bush that was on fire or not. That's all I got for you. Anyway, got a whole laundry list.
Oh my gosh!
Right, and I think I've saved my favorite for the last scenario I want to give you is that rabbis and cantors, clergy have to visit people in the hospital all the time, and wish them good wishes and thoughts of recovery. What if the rabbi or cantor that visited a person in the hospital was actually Woody Allen?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, take a moment to suit up. Obviously, you know, this is a strained time. At least I got you in a room with a window. Should probably, you know, keep it wide open these days because, you know, a lot of viral things going on. But if you think, frankly, you didn't ask me, but it'd be better, safer for you to be at home, you know, in the garage. I don't want to say cesspool, but that's the inference.
Amazing. All right, so
That's what I say.
now we're ready for
Topical.
exactly. We're ready for a lightning round.
Lightning round. This is gonna be great.
Okay, so I have prepared an excerpt from the book of Proverbs, because Proverbs is sort of our own version of Shakespeare. It's just like these glorious sayings. Now, Penny and I are going to take turns, and we're going to give you voices, and you can read a verse in that voice.
Okay.
And Jim, you may have seen the text before, but you have no idea what voices we're going to throw at
We
you.
have never met before today, and we've not discussed this ahead of time very much. So let's have at it.
All right, good.
Full of kavod.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, all right. I'll start you off with Jack Nicholson.
Oh, I was good.
Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth.
Penny, go ahead.
Harvey Keitel.
Let another man praise thee. Hey, be quiet, will you, please? Hey, hey, little fella. Can we get a little help with the dog?
Is that a pet?
Pretty soon it's going to be dog food. Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips.
John C. Riley.
A stone is heavy and the sand weighty, but a fool's vexation is heavier than they both. Oh my God!
I can't even right now.
I'll take another one. Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, sure.
Wrath is cruel, and anger is overwhelming, but who is able to stand before jealousy? Anyone?
Okay. I need this one, Arnold.
Better is open rebuke than love that is hidden. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, yeah, but the kisses of an enemy are importunate. That means not good.
William Shatner.
As a bird that wandereth from her nest, so is a man that wandereth from his place.
I could listen to that all
Yeah,
day long.
Casey Kasem.
Oh, yeah.
Ointment and perfume rejoice the heart. So doth the sweetness of a man's friend by hearty counsel. Coming in at number 5, hearty counsel.
Yeah.
All right. Paul Giamatti.
Thine own friend and thy father's friend forsake not, neither go into thy brother's house in the day of thy calamity. Better is a neighbor that is near than a brother far off.
Morgan Freeman.
My son, be wise and make my heart glad, that I may answer him that taunteth me.
I mean, I could listen to the entire text with Morgan Freeman. All right. And
I'm
also,
sure he's recorded it.
I'm sure he
I
has.
hope we've recorded this.
No, and Morgan no, I said that already. Christopher Walken.
A prudent man seeth the evil and hideth himself, but the thoughtless pass on and are punished.
Robert De Niro.
You know, iron sharpeneth iron. So a man, okay, sharpeneth the countenance of a friend. That's all I'm saying.
That's all.
John Malkovich.
He who keepeth the fig tree shall eat the fruit thereof, and he that waiteth on his master shall be honored.
Honorary.
Penny.
Jimmy Stewart.
Be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks, and look well to thy herds, for riches are not forever. And doth the crown endure unto all generations? I don't think so.
Wow.
Bravo. That was amazing.
Oh
So,
my God.
Jim, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for taking time with us and joining us
pleasure.
today. And just, I got to tell you, I've got the William Shatner in my head forever. And you've basically ruined me now for the rest of my career, because anytime I speak from in leading services, I'm just going to be doing it, William Shatner. Are there any, I know we're all kind of stuck at home and isolated and you can't really get out and do any live performances, but is there anything you'd like to plug? Websites, videos, or anything?
Well, you can always go to my my YouTube channel. I've got a lot of material there.
It's amazing.
And right now, I'm just trying to find more ways to use my my impressions and my voice to help inspire people to be creative, to create a peaceful world and not a divisive world. So I think there's much to admire and about humanity, and it's very easy to focus on, you know, the grim part of life and the negative parts of the human spirit, but there is also much to admire on the other side, and that's where I think we need to put our attention. So that's what I'm trying to do with my YouTube channel, to bring some laughter, like I know you guys are trying to do, and to bring a little civilization back. Why not?
Amen.
It's wonderful. You know what? We have Jim, we have a word for someone like you in our faith. It's mensch. You are a mensch. And I know you know what that means. So thank you so much.
Thanks,
and you've
you
just
both.
brought laughter and joy to us and to everyone who's going to watch this video. So thank you so much. And maybe someday in the future, our paths will cross again, and we'd love to hear some more impressions.
I hope so.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
What an amazing talent he is. Do you see how he just inhabits the persona?
I like that. Yes, and I like that he's human enough to say, and you know, it's too early in the morning for this one. I feel that way every morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we're like, I can't hit that note, or I don't feel like doing this piece because it's 7 a.m. or 9 or something like that. So yeah, I mean,
who davens at 7 a.m.? I guess we all do.
Okay,
but I mean, like, davening, it's not like hitting that note at 7 a.m.
I loved the comparisons that we made before he came on, and then while he was with us, about how there's this common ground as performers, and that, yes, we're clergy and what we're doing is sacred, but there's
a performance element.
There's an aspect of performance, and it transcends exactly what it is. I mean, he's a performer and he's a comedian, impressionist, and we're doing something different, and yet there's common ground. And just when he says, I can't do this because it's early in the morning, or I'm trying to bring laughter and goodness to the world and happiness. I mean, like, amazing. It's just, it's what it's all about.
Wow, that was an awesome shidduch you made.
So I'll tell everyone listening, go on jimmeskimen.com, and you can find out more, and just go on YouTube and just put the name Jim Meskimen in and search, and there'll be a million things that come up, and you'll see some of these impressions and then some others that we didn't even get to, and yeah, it's really just,
you need a good laugh and a diversion from reality. Definitely check him out.
It's fun being with someone who's that talented, and just to watch the art. So we are going to wrap up this this very special episode of our podcast, and it was a pleasure having you with us. Maybe someday you can join us in an actual bar for an actual drink or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
On that day when you're able to be with us, we're always very happy to say
the drinks are on us.